Hi everyone, it's time for JAX 89, Jacksonville as it was in the year 1989. I'm George Farrar and I'm pleased to bring you, as part of our Jacksonville History Year by Year series, spanning the period of time from 1975 through 1995, this look at 1989, and what an amazing look it is, because in 1989, in December 1989, around Christmas time, it snowed. And here we see someone walking right down the center of the Main Street Bridge, headed south. The Main Street Bridge was closed, of course, so he could do it. And boy, was it an amazing sight. Now, this really impacted holiday travelers. It really impacted people on Interstate 95. And here we see someone at 95 northbound going into downtown, and we see in the distance the long line of cars, and then on the other side of the river, now keeping in mind that this would be people going towards and over the old Fuller Warren drawbridge, and there's a man here, and he will have a unique distinction, because on December 24th, 1989, a picture of him will be on the Florida Times-Union edition, the snow edition. I'd like to read to you a portion of the article to give you an idea of what was going on in December 1989. The area's most severe winter storm this century glazed North Florida and South Georgia with ice and snow yesterday, stranding holiday travelers, disrupting shoppers, and turning streets into skating rinks. Temperatures were expected to reach only to freezing today and drop into the teens tonight, making it likely at least some snow would remain Christmas morning. "It's a winter wonderland in Jacksonville," Mayor Tommy Hazzuri said. "It's a beautiful sight for a city that doesn't get snow very often. And it's also a very dangerous situation for the same reason." Indeed it was. Most of Jacksonville's major bridges were shut down, while cars and trucks mostly crept along the city's major streets. Police responded to reports of dozens of minor accidents. The Jacksonville Transportation Authority suspended bus service for the first time since Hurricane Dora in 1964. Interstate 10 between Jacksonville and Tallahassee was closed last night. All flights were canceled at Jacksonville International Airport yesterday. Many of the stranded passengers carrying colorfully wrapped Christmas packages said they had planned to fly out to visit friends and families for the holidays. So let's say you weren't stuck on the road and you weren't stuck at the airport, but you were at home, and let's say you wanted to do some snow skiing. Here we see a Jacksonville Sheriff's officer talking to looks like a motorist and a snow skier behind him. Interesting stuff, I'm sure, was happening. And, how would I have had these pictures if someone didn't have the good sense to stand at Beach Boulevard and University Boulevard to take some pictures? And here we look at University Boulevard headed northbound towards, you see the left, the Piccadilly. I remember the Piccadilly. And to the right, now this is also then University Boulevard going southbound. And this, on the right, is the Rhodes Furniture Store. On the left, if you kept going, on the left would be Memorial Hospital. In 1989, it was announced that one of the big banks at the time, Barnett Bank, was going to construct a 40-story office tower. It was a $90 million project, and it would be the tallest skyscraper in the city, exceeding the height of the Independent Life Building. And of course, we know it today as the Bank of America Tower. It was time for Barnett Bank to build a big skyscraper, because the original one in Jacksonville had been built in the 1920s. So it was time for Barnett to do it big and to do it modern. And Jacksonville had a new skyscraper going into the 1990s. Ultimately, of course, we know that Barnett Bank would briefly become Nations Bank, then it would become Bank of America as part of being acquired. So, but a lot of us remember Barnett Bank. I have fond memories of Barnett. Now, speaking of money and people taking money from you, tolls were not a new thing for Jacksonville, even in the 1950s. At one point in the early days of the old Acosta Bridge span, it had tolls. And so the Fort Warren Drawbridge had tolls, and the Matthews Bridge, the Hart Bridge had tolls, and there were different toll booths throughout the city at in various spots. And in those days, you did have to stop to either throw the coins in the basket or pay the attendant to pay the toll collector. And so we're looking, of course, at the toll booths and toll collection through the years, and it had gone on for a very long time, in the big way that it was from the 1950s up until 1989. And these toll facilities and this way of doing business to pay your share really would wear on people. And I know even as a kid, it wore on me. And riding around, especially on school buses in the heat of the day, heat of the humidity, heat of the afternoon, and everyone's stuck in traffic. And so by the 1980s, people were fed up. Mayor Tommy Hazouri had led an effort that was successful, and in a close election, the decision was made by the people of Jacksonville. The people of Jacksonville voted to remove tolls out of Duval County. So in August 1989, toll collection ended in Duval County until the 21st century, when tolls would appear in new places and in new ways that were more efficient for the traveling and the driving, motoring public. But we see a relic, now we know for certain a relic, going bye-bye in 1989. But now we're saying, though, hello to something new. It's futuristic. It's the automated Skyway Express. We know it today as the Jacksonville Skyway. And if you see the Jacksonville Terminal building in the distance, you see at this point it's the Prime Osborne Convention Center, and we see the equipment. Now we see the trains, and they look different than what we know of today in 2020. These were the original, with a different company, Metra, had this equipment. And so they had 3 stations, and this automated Skyway Express would be buzzing between 3 stations that had low ridership. And this is just the first phase of a multi-phase project where eventually it would go across the river and so on. Good heavens, doesn't anybody listen to orders anymore? So here we see in this editorial political cartoon by Ed Gamble, Mayor Hazouri depicted with the Duval legislative delegation, depicted as wild, rabid, confused, scared, roaming dogs. So you get the feeling, and I got the feeling as I was preparing JAX 88 and preparing this show, that the mayor, I think, had some expectations about the way things were going to go in Jacksonville, and he ran right up against some things, including the development he wanted to do, which would have been a North Bank River Walk, a convention center hotel, and there was also talk about a bigger city hall and bigger raises for the personnel with the city, and to make things better. And the idea conceived at the time was a trash tax. And as a lot of you who are homeowners, and I can speak as having been a homeowner in Jacksonville, and trash, and it's a sensitive topic. It really is, because it's one of the most basic city functions. So I think that there were some things that went on, and we see some of that in that. Now, let's take a look at a map of Jacksonville from that time. Now, on this map, we do see the toll bridges designated. We see the toll plaza on Butler Boulevard, the toll bridge at Trout Creek. We see the Hart, the Matthews, the Fort Warren toll bridges. And of course, we see the Buckman Bridge. And I want to direct your attention to the eastern side of the St. Johns River, because there's going to be a lot of development that's going to happen, even more development that's going to happen in the 1990s on the eastern side between South Side and the beaches. And what's going to help to fuel it will be the East Beltway. You can't have the East Beltway without the Dames Point Bridge, or a bridge basically going over the St. Johns River. And so in 1989, the Dames Point Bridge was opened. Here is an artist rendering of the Dames Point Bridge before it was constructed. The Dames Point Bridge ended up being one of the most important transportation facilities in Jacksonville's infrastructure. I've driven over it a couple times. It's a critical link between the north side of Jacksonville and the south side of Jacksonville. And for travelers going through Jacksonville that may not want to go to the west towards the Buckham Bridge, you have an option to take the Dames Point Bridge. Now, we call it the Dames Point Bridge, but it's officially named the Napoleon Bonaparte Broward Bridge, and it opened on March 10th, 1989. I want to talk briefly with you about Napoleon Bonaparte Broward. When we think of Broward, we think of Broward County. Now, Napoleon Bonaparte Broward, though he was a South Florida politician, he and ultimately became governor of Florida in the 1900s. He was a steamboat pilot in the St. Johns River, and so he was a steamboat pilot for a steamboat called the Kate Spencer, and which he would pilot in the mouth of the St. Johns River in some pretty tricky areas. And so he gets that distinction, and that's why the bridge is named. And he also, with some friends, built a steamboat called the Three Friends. The man has a very unique biography. While people were just starting to drive over the Dames Point Bridge, I was at DuPont Junior High in the 8th grade. Here we see the Ala DuPan 1989 yearbook. Now, I had high hopes for DuPont. For years, I had been looking forward to going to DuPont Junior High. I'd built it up, I guess you could say, a lot in my mind. And it wasn't for a lack of effort at DuPont. It wasn't for a lack of effort. I spent a lot of time, like a lot of kids did at that time, on my hair. I was always working on my hair. But seriously, there was a lot going on. As you know from JAX 88, things were rather chaotic. I think people tried to do the best that they could, and I was trying to do the best I could. And I was trying to get through the 8th grade, which was, in a lot of ways, particularly difficult for me, especially as I began to realize that I was not going to be at DuPont for the 9th grade. And that weighed heavily on me, and it weighed heavily on my academics. Now, of course, I had the band. I was in the band. Here you see me with various members of the 8th grade band. I played the clarinet, still was playing the clarinet. DuPont was a unique school in that it had very distinct facilities for the band. And Gilbert did too, Matthew Gilbert did, but I really, really liked the band hall. I really liked the band room in DuPont. I think back to it sometimes, and I just think back to great memories. Miss Meese, the band director, was excellent. And I was trying to build friendships. When I went through the yearbook, because I wanted to talk about some things, and I thought back to the 8th grade, I wonder what might have been. But you see, plans were coming towards the end of 1989, and snow wasn't going to be the only surprise I was going to have in 89. But first I had to get through my academics. I always had an interest in history, but the best teachers are the ones that can really harness your energy and get your mind focused and actually teach you the basics. And I got the basics of American history from Mr. Cruz at DuPont Junior High. And I remember there was a project where we're pioneers, and we had to get a list of things together for a pioneer trip. And I still remember that. It was real fun. Now, my most difficult subject in school was math. I credit Miss Peters, my special education math teacher, first period math in 8th grade, with helping me really get a good grasp of the fundamentals of math. She used an overhead projector and transparencies, and she would write, and we would do math problems. And so, to all the teachers I had, of course, at DuPont, I say thanks. Not only teachers inspired me, but at one point at DuPont, a motivational speaker inspired me. Now, I watched this motivational speaker by video, and it was Montel Williams. And at this point in time, he was still a U.S. Marine. Okay? He was in the Marine Corps. And he gave motivational talks. And so I'm sitting in this dingy portable, in the back of a dingy portable classroom at DuPont Junior High, and I hear him say, "Mountain, get out of my way." And I was greatly inspired by this, and I was determined, as I got through the 8th grade, to complete the 8th grade successfully. I had a lot of challenges. I had some academic challenges. I had some challenges at home. And I was having to confront times that were unsettling for me. And I was about to experience a real dramatic change in my life, even more dramatic than the divorce that I was already going through and still reckoning with at that time. And eventually he had his talk show. He wrote a book called Mountain, Get Out of My Way. But I am thankful for those unique moments that were offered to me. Now, if you wanted to go out and party and have some unique moments of your own, you could, in 1989, go out to Einstein A Go-Go. And I would hear about Einstein A Go-Go on the radio, and I wanted to one day go out there, but it never happened. Out to Jacksonville Beach. Jane's Addiction and Dinosaur Jr. were performing there in February of 1989. And at the old Jacksonville Coliseum, since demolished, in February of 1989, you could have checked out Metallica. So a lot of great opportunities for people in 1989 to get out and party, have some fun. And for those of you more inclined towards possibly a game of baseball, you could go to Wolfson Park and you could see the Expos. Now, as I mentioned just a moment ago, I was about to experience some incredible change in my life. I was not going to start the 9th grade at DuPont Junior High. I was going to start the 9th grade at Jeb Stuart Junior High off of 103rd Street, Timaquana, in West Connett, on the west side of Jacksonville. See, in 1989, I had moved from the south side to the west side, and it was a very abrupt change for me. And so that's another story for JAX 90. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. See you later.